Any good woodworker will tell you that having the right tools in your shop makes all the difference. For over 70 years, the folks at Hawk Woodworking Tools have been working to make your time spent in the shop more productive and enjoyable. We want to provide you with tools that give you the confidence to tackle projects you would have otherwise been intimidated by. Over 20 years ago, we designed the Hawk Scroll Saw to overcome the frustrations folks were having with the tools that they already had in their shop. If you've ever used one of those tools, being a bandsaw or a jigsaw or a scroll saw, you know exactly how frustrating those tools can be. Using a bandsaw, you use a technique called relief cutting, which requires you to go out and around and back again to make a sharp corner. With the Hawk, it's as easy as feeding into the blade and making the cut. You don't have to worry about that blade bending or twisting or binding. Every cut that you make with the Hawk is a perfect one. If you've ever used a jigsaw, you know how frustrating those tools can be. The whole time you're cutting, that blade is bending and twisting and binding. When you get done breaking the blade and you finish your project up, your project is one size on one side and another size on the other. You can't get your puzzle apart and you can't get it back together again. I don't know why they call them jigsaw puzzles, because you can't make them with a jigsaw. Scroll saws are typically limited to cutting thin materials. And if you have one of those tools in your shop, you know how frustrating it can be. Again, that darn blade is bending and twisting while you're trying to make sharp turns. You break a lot of blades, and you wrestle your project the whole time on the table. The whole time you're trying to cut, that darn blade's trying to get it out of your hand and bang your project on the table until you break it. You'll see with the Hawk, we're simply feeding into the blade and making the cut. The weight of my fingers is more than enough to keep my project on the table. Now we're on our way to making a little puzzle here. We've got our first two cuts. We've got first our small cat and our second cat. Now let's finish up the project. To cut a straight line with the Hawk, you feed straight into the blade. Now the blade's not special. It's a standard 5-inch fret saw blade. Pick them up at the hardware store. They're about 15 cents a piece. It doesn't have pins on the end, and there's not anything special about it other than the price. The blade carriage system on the Hawk allows that small blade to cut through thicker material. In fact, you can cut material up to 2 5/8 of an inch thick with the Hawk. Exactly the same way we're cutting our project out now. Now we'll finish our project up and take a look. Remember, our first cut we made the small cat, our second cut we made the larger cat, and our third cut we finished the house. Now if you like to sand, the Hawk is not the saw for you. Here's why. When the saw's cutting, it's actually polishing while it's cutting. You'll see even on the back side of the project, there's no sanding to be done. Every cut with the Hawk is perfect. So once you finish making your project, you're ready to take it and finish it up. Not a lot of sanding to be done. That's what folks tell me they like best about the Hawk. Let's talk a little bit about the blade carriage system and how it works. First of all, there's a front cam right here that releases your tension on your blade. Now that blade operates under a constant tension. It's the same concept like a cheese slicer works at home. You release that tension to change the blade, and you open it up off of your blade holder. Now if we wanted to do an inside project where we wanted to cut the center out of something, like one of the projects that I have here on the backboard, let me show you. Say we wanted to make a project like this, and we want to cut the center part out without making an entry cut in. That's called an inside cut. Now I've taken a project here behind me and I've drilled the holes out of the scrap area, and I'll show you exactly how that's done. You'll see I've drilled a hole in the areas where I'm going to come in and make an inside cut or a piercing cut. Now I'll feed that right over my blade. I'll bring this back and tighten it up. Now you'll notice I'm not using any tools. The Hawk blade change is completely toolless. I turn my tension back on and I'm ready to make the cut. You'll notice the little black hose to my right here. That's a dust blowing system, and all that does is keep my work line clear. You'll see I'm following the line here. Underneath the lower arm, there's a little rubber bellows. When the lower arm's moving, it's pumping those little rubber bellows, which blows the sawdust out of the way. It's repositionable, so you can put it wherever you need it, depending on the type or the dimension of the project that you're making. Let's finish up this piercing cut here. I'll let you take a look at it, and I'll show you a couple other projects that we'll make with the Hawk. You'll see, it doesn't matter, we're cutting oak here. It doesn't matter how hard the material is or how soft. You're going to get the exact same performance out of the machine. You're just following a line. All right. Again, we'll release the tension, open that up off of the blade holder, and there's our inside cut. You'll see in this project, I'll probably do it about 40 times to finish the project up. But it's real simple. The tension is automatic. It's either on or it's off, simply by releasing the cam. Now the table on the Hawk tilts 45 degrees both left and right. There's a gauge on the front of the saw that'll tell you exactly where it's at. At 45 degrees, you can do a miter cut. At 12.5 degrees, you can do hand-cut dovetails. 2 or 3 degrees, you'll do inlay work, like this project here, where we've gone around and we've taken different same thickness of material and different materials, and we tilt it at about 3 degrees, and we bevel the cut, and we finish it out. That's at about 2 or 3 degrees. Let's go at about 30 degrees and make a real fun little cut here. Now I use this project around the holidays. With my table tilted, cutting is exactly the same as with the table square, but what you end up with is a dramatically different project. I'm left-handed, so I tilt my table to the left. If you're right-handed, you'll tilt your table to the right. Let's take a look at what we've done. You'll see by taking that clover pattern, it was a simple little clover pattern, and we cut it out with the table tilted. We end up with a dramatically different project. Folks, it's where we got the router out to finish that project up. Now, what I do at home is I've taken my family name, written it on a piece of wood, cut it out just like that, put a light behind it so folks that drive by at night can even see where the Murrays live. We'll come around and finish our project up, and I'll show you what I do around the holidays. If you can imagine this being a reindeer or a snowflake or a Christmas tree pattern, you'll see the kind of projects I use as gifts to give to friends and family, use them to decorate presents with. The great thing about the Hawk is that you'll find yourself making projects out of material that you would have otherwise thrown away. You'll see out of this little piece of scrap wood right here, we can make several projects. We're following right along the outside of that pattern that we've already cut. And there's that square cut we talked about earlier. We set the table back at 0, so it's perfectly square. And what we end up with is a little carved wooden ribbon. Now, if you can imagine that being a snowflake or a Christmas tree or a reindeer pattern, the kind of projects you can make around the holidays with scraps you would have otherwise thrown in the trash. Now, you remember I said the Hawk was a tool designed for professional woodworkers. Let's talk a little bit about the design of the machine. First of all, on the back where your arm pivots, you'll see there are 2 arm braces, one on either side of your arm. Between the 2 arm pivots is a thrust ball bearing. Now that's dramatically different. If you've already got a scroll saw, including an industrial scroll saw at home, what's typically used in the design of those machines are bronze sleeve bushings. Now a bronze sleeve bushing is a wear part. What it does is it's an oil light bearing. You have to remember to oil it every 20 hours of use. and it wears. As your arm pivots, your bushing wears. With the Hawk, we use a thrust ball bearing. What happens is that reduces the amount of maintenance you're going to have to do on your machine. In fact, the first scheduled maintenance on a Hawk scroll saw is at 20,000 hours of use. Remember I said it was an industrial grade machine. You've got 2 arm pivots with your thrust bearings in your arm pivots, absolutely maintenance free. The stroking action on the Hawk is different than any other saw, and this is real important. I'm going to slow the machine down to let you get a look. If you look on either side of the saw here, you'll see that in the downstroke the Hawk makes a vertical cut, and on the upstroke it pulls back in a relief. That's exactly the same way you and I use a handsaw. So what's happening is on the downstroke the saw makes the cut. On the upstroke it pulls back in a relief and actually cleans the sawdust out. Now the saw is moving at a full 7/8 of an inch length of stroke. So you can cut materials up to 2 5/8 of an inch thick with absolutely no problem. If you're a professional cutter, you may want to stack 3 of these projects up at a time. You cut out 3 projects in the same amount of time that it takes 1. That's how the professional woodworkers make their money. Underneath the saw is the DuraTorque power system. This is a unique power system only available on the Hawk. It's a DC motor powered by a computer-controlled controller here, which will speed your saw up or slow it down all the way down to 30 strokes a minute and all the way up to 1,750 strokes a minute. At a full 7/8 of an inch length of stroke, you'll be able to cut through 2 5/8 of an inch material, no problem. One of the interesting things about the Hawk for cutting metals and plastics, fiberglass, ceramics, just about any material you want to, you're always going to maintain the same amount of torque with the DuraTorque power system. Here's how it works. When you increase the load on the saw, you see the machine compensates and actually increases the torque to keep your machine from stalling out. On the slow speeds, it will deliver the same amount of torque as it does on the high speed. You can actually see that controller responding and delivering power. On the high speed, you get the same performance. You cannot stall the machine out. So you're always going to have enough power, no matter how thick the material is that you want to cut. In fact, let's cut a little thick material and show you actually how this machine performs. I'm going to change the blade out and put in a little larger blade. Put your tension back on, you're ready to go to work. Whether you're cutting thin woods or thick woods, hard or soft, you're going to get the same performance out of the machine. And a perfectly square cut. You'll see we came in here and turned right around in the saw blade's curve. Again, you see that the weight of my hands is more than enough to keep my project on the table. No matter what kind of material you want to cut with the Hawk, you can. Thick or thin, hard or soft. Stroking action on the Hawk allows you to cut not only thick woods or soft woods, which is what we've been cutting so far, but also hardwoods. You'll see many of the projects here in my shop are made with hardwoods like oak, walnut, and maple. I'm going to grab some hardwoods and we'll do a little hardwood cutting. This is where the Hawk really shines, is in hardwood cutting. You'll see I've got a piece of oak here and a piece of walnut. I'm going to do some general cutting in the walnut, let you get a look at how the machine cuts, and then we'll talk about why it's cutting the way it is. If you make a lot of projects in hardwoods, you see the Hawk was originally designed for hardwood cutting. In fact, it has a special cutter position just for that. We call it the commercial cutter's position. Let me finish up this project. I'll let you take a look at the finish, and then I'll show you how the commercial cutter's position works. You'll see it's just as easy to cut hardwoods like this walnut as it is to cut softwoods like the pine with the Hawk, and here's why. Remember, first of all, we said it had a full 7/8 of an inch length of stroke. So you've got a good long stroke, which is going in, making your cut, and cleaning your sawdust back out. What a typical scroll saw does is it strokes vertically, exactly vertical, on the downstroke and on the upstroke. By stroking exactly vertical, we force the saw blade to saw its own sawdust over and over, causing heat. Heat, of course, causes blade breakage. That's the biggest enemy of your blade, is heat. So what we've done is we've taken the machine and given it a nice long length of stroke. We've given it the ability to cut vertically on the downstroke and to pull back into relief on the upstroke. Those two combined clean out your cut and allow you to move through hardwoods faster and to cut through thicker woods faster. Now underneath here I'm going to show you on the Hawk 20, which is the machine I'm using here, or the Hawk 26. Both of those machines come available with a two-position blade carriage. That same unique stroking action with the Hawk and the variable speed controller allow us to cut just about any material. Let me grab a piece of plastic here and we'll do a little bit of cutting. You use plastic cutting for projects around the house. For quilters, they love to use it to cut their templates with. It's wonderful for cutting any kind of templates. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slow the machine down. Remember, it'll slow all the way down to 30 strokes a minute. We're going to go at about half speed here. Now remember, we're half speed but not half torque. The machine's still going to feed full power to this blade, no matter what speed we're cutting at. You see that you get the exact same performance out of the machine in this plastic as you would in any other material. You're just feeding into the blade and making the cut. It doesn't matter how intricate or how simple the pattern is, you're simply following a line. You don't have to be a great woodworker to enjoy the Hawk. In fact, several Hawk owners, it's the only tool they own. You can make an entire project on the Hawk in your shop without a shop full of tools, and in just a few minutes. In a corner of your garage or shop in 15 minutes of your time, and you can have a project you'd be proud to give to anybody. Now you'll see you get the same finish, you get that same smooth finish out of plastic that you do wood. We just slow it down to keep it from heating up and fusing together. Now you can cut literally any kind of material. I've even taken some plywood, stacked it up, and cut multiple projects at a time. Again, you're using the exact same technique. We glue our pattern on the wood, and then we just follow around and cut it out. I'll turn the speed back up and make the cut. If you've ever been to the craft shop and you've looked at the projects that they have there, you looked at those little thin plywood projects that all the painters buy and use to decorate their other projects with and use to paint. Here's how those guys make all that money. We've stacked up 8 pieces of Baltic birch plywood, and then I've just taped it together with some packing tape here. So while we're cutting, we're not cutting one project at a time. We're not cutting 2 projects at a time. We're cutting 8 projects at a time, and in fact, if I wanted to, I could cut a full dozen at a time, no problem. Remember, we've got 2 5/8 inch capacity, and we can use that any way we want to. Not only are they exactly the same project, we cut them all at exactly the same time, but you'll see they also have the exact same finish, that same polished finish that makes the Hawk the saw that all the professionals like to use. I'm going to slow the machine down, I'm going to change the blade out, and we'll do a little metal cutting. Now I use some light machine oil when I do metal cutting. First of all, we're going to release the tension on the upper blade holder. We're going to open that up off of the top chuck. We're going to remove that from the bottom. That's your bottom blade chuck. It mounts right in here. Now guys, if you've got another scroll saw, this is where people get real excited because they see just how easy it is to change a blade on the Hawk. We're going to put a metal cutting blade in. We're going to drop it down in the hole. Now the only thing you have to remember when changing the blade, you drop it down in the hole and the teeth point down. That's all there is to it. Tighten it up with your hand, slide it back into the bottom arm. Bring that back around. Now the blade that I'm using here is a little different than the one we've used so far. This is a jeweler's blade, 5-inch jeweler's blade. It goes in a hand jeweler's saw. These are about 1/4 a piece. Let me grab my metal. There are several different kinds of projects you can make with metal. I've got just a couple of them here that I've been working on. Let me show them to you. There's a copper cowl that I've cut out of copper. A lot of country crafts you'll do the same way. Just buy sheet copper. Trace your pattern, follow around and cut it out. That's all there is to it. Here's a piece of brass that I've cut out here as well in a cross shape and then did a little inside cut. Now remember the inside cut, we drilled the hole in, we fed our blade through and we made that cut. You'll remember how we did that. And there's a little sleigh and horse. And of course, jewelry. You can do all kinds of coin jewelry. You can do just about anything you want to with the Hawk. It's just a matter of feeding into the blade and making the cut. Now let me show you how similar it is to cut metal. Again, we're going to slow the machine down. And you can cut at your own speed. For coin jewelry, I slow the machine way down, probably half the speed again. Put just a touch of machine oil where you're going to cut. And just a touch is really the key word there. And then make your cut. You get the exact same performance out of the machine in a metal as you would a wood. So whether you're making heirloom jewelry for a gift, or whether you're making country crafts out of pine, it doesn't matter. That's one of the things that folks tell me they like best about the Hawk, is no matter what your interests are, if they change tomorrow when you're making coin jewelry as your hobby, or your interests change and maybe you want to make stained glass, the Hawk will always grow with you. It'll never be a tool that you'll outgrow. It'll never be a tool that you wish you had one that was more accurate or could do more intricate cutting than your Hawk. I've equipped this Model 216, our 16-inch throat depth machine, with the optional glass cutters package. This is the same package you'll use to cut glass and cut ceramic tile. You'll see it's got a drip tank system with a gravity feed. So I'm going to turn the machine on a fairly slow speed. The blade that I have in the saw is a diamond-encrusted round blade. And I'll allow the water to start feeding through. And we'll make our cut. Whether it's a simple shape, like one of these simple shapes that I've cut here, or it's part of a much larger project, you can use your Hawk for doing just about any kind of project in your shop. As you can see, the Hawk is an amazing machine. It's not a typical scroll saw. It gives you the ability to do literally any kind of project in any material, whether it's a traditional scroll project like this, or stained glass work, or even an intarsia project like this one here. Hardwood, softwood, any material, it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of feeding into the blade and having the right tool for the right job. There are 3 models of Hawk saws. The one that we've been doing most of our cutting on today is the Hawk 20. This machine has 20 inches of throat depth. That's the distance from the back of the blade to the front of the dual brace system here. That distance times 2 is the largest project you can make on this machine. So this particular project here, this round project, we could make a 40-inch round on the Hawk scroll saw. So it would be quite large, about the size of the breakfast table. So you've got 20 inches of throat depth, 2 5/8 inch capacity. Remember the thick wood that we cut earlier? You can cut materials up to 2 5/8 of an inch thick with this machine. It does have the thrust bearings in the arm pivots. This is one of our industrial grade machines. It has the patented flip tension system. It has the toolless blade change system. It has the automatic rear cam system, so you can't get your blade tension wrong. It's impossible to mess it up. This machine comes complete with the dust blowing system, the DuraTorque power system. It slows all the way down to 30 strokes a minute, and all the way up to 1,750 strokes a minute. 7/8 of an inch length of stroke. This machine, like all Hawks, come complete with the floor stand like you see them. So they sit right in the corner of your workshop, wherever you need them to be. Our next smaller machine is the Hawk 16. The Hawk 16 is the machine that we did our glass cutting work on. This is the home use machine. It comes with a standard 16-inch throat depth. It still has the dual brace holding system in the back. It has bronze sleeve bushings in the arm pivots. So you need to remember to oil that every 20 hours of use. It does not have the front cam system. All of your tensioning is done here in the rear. You release your tension and you turn your tension on. It still comes with the same DuraTorque power system and the same variable speed. This machine comes complete with the floor stand like you see it as well. Now our largest Hawk, the Hawk 26, has 26 inches of throat depth, a two-way tilting table, 45 degrees both left and right, which is standard on all three models. It has the thrust bearings in the arm pivots. It has the release tension on the front. It has the dust blowing system and everything else we talked about on the 20-inch machine. The main difference between the 20-inch and the 26-inch machine is strictly the throat depth. You get 6 inches more capacity on the 26. These two machines, the 20 and the 26, are industrial grade machines and are identical with the exception of the throat depth. All of our machines come with 2 different warranties, and let me tell you about them. First of all, they come with a 30-day in-the-shop guarantee. You've had the chance to see me make several projects with my Hawks here, but we want you to have the opportunity to try it out in your shop, to set it up, to put the legs on it, and to fire it up and see how it works. Now, chances are we won't be able to talk you out of your Hawk after you've had it for a month, but if you decide that for some reason you're not happy, you don't feel that this was a good tool investment for your money, we'll take your machine back and give you a full refund. So for the first 30 days, we want you to try it out and make sure it does everything that we say it does. Make sure that you make all the projects you want to make. It also comes with a 6-year commercial grade warranty. Now our 2 larger machines, the Hawk 20 and the 26, are guaranteed for commercial use. That means you can use it all day, every day, and everything on the machine is completely covered for 6 full years. Our smaller machine, the Hawk 16, comes with a 5-year home warranty. It is not guaranteed for commercial use, but it is a home use machine only. Some of the options available on the Hawk Precision Scroll Saw are the magnifier lamp with a 2-to-1 magnification lens for working on small projects. The deluxe accessory tray. The deluxe accessory tray holds your spare blades and your bottom blade holders. And the foot switch. It's an on and off action that allows you to use your foot to control the on and off action on your Hawk Precision Scroll Saw. For over 70 years, we've been building tools for woodworkers just like you, bringing solutions to their workshop. All of the Hawk saws are sold factory direct. You have the opportunity to work directly with the manufacturer and our factory tool specialists. If you have any questions about anything you've seen in the video today, or any questions about getting a new Hawk saw for yourself, please call us at 1-800-487-2623, and one of our tool specialists will be happy to assist you. Enclosed with the Fact Kit are some special offers that are available factory direct for a limited time. Please look over the information enclosed with this video to learn more about them. We appreciate your time and your interest in Hawk woodworking tools, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.